Hi everyone, welcome to the third instalment of My Favourite Riffs. So, this week I'm doing the mighty Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine. So, huge Rage fan. I remember when I used to go to work when I was an apprentice brickie, when I left school when I was 16. So I was working on a building site and going to college, but when I was working on the building site it was like a bus journey. It was a bus journey that took around an hour, and I remember just on my Discman, if you remember those, so Sony Discman, there was a few albums on rotation and this was on heavily. I would listen to this every morning on my way to work, and oh man, just what a great album. So many, I mean, I could have chosen so many riffs from that record, but I've gone for basically the first Rage song that I heard, and it was the first Rage song that I learned, and it was also one of the first songs that I learned drop D, and learnt a riff in drop D, and then started exploring that. It's like that first time you get something new and it's just really exciting, and it's like, whatever that may be. On guitar could be tapping, could be sweep picking, I don't know. The first time you figure something out and you're like, oh cool, this is awesome, this has now opened up so many things. And the drop D was the same thing, and this riff was one of those riffs. I mean, yeah, I could have picked so many because they're all amazing. And another thing I realised recently, like going back and listening to that first record, which is just a powerhouse, I remember the CD, I played it so much the CD started skipping, and because it had been played so much, I basically had to get a new copy of it. But yeah, I realised that they made scales sound cool and interesting, because a lot of the riffs are based around pentatonic scale or a blues scale, with a couple of maybe added notes in there, a couple of chromatics, but it's just a scale that made it sound so cool. It was awesome. Similarly you can hear like the Jimmy Page influence and stuff on Tom Morello, but just what an amazing band. I remember we played Puckle Pop. I think it was Puckle Pop in the Netherlands, or Pink Pop. Maybe it was Pink Pop. I can't remember. There's a few pop festivals in the Netherlands. And Prophets of Rage were playing. And I remember walking past Tom Morello and I was too scared to just say, I didn't want to, I don't care about getting pictures or anything like that. It's just to say, like, thanks, like, you really inspired me to want to play, and, and I learned, like, every riff of yours. But I didn't. I chickened out. I should have said hello. Anyway, here goes showbiz anecdote for you. Anyway, so I'm doing Freedom. Just what a song that is. Just awesome. So I thought we'd do the first riff, obviously the main riff. I'll show you the verse part as well, because I've seen that in places where I don't think it's quite right. And then the end riff. So, here's the riff. Cool. So, obviously we're in drop D, so tune low E down to D, so down a whole tone, right, a whole step. First part of the riff, starting with this D note on the A string, 5th fret. So we're going 5th fret, open D, 3rd fret, 5th fret, on the low D string now, because that's a D string, right? So that means F is now here on the 3rd fret, and G is 5th fret now, yeah, because we have to move everything up 2 frets, up a whole step. Then you go back to that C note on the A string, so pedal there with the G and the F. Back to that D. Okay, so you could, learn again as with anything, learn it in stages, and learn it in little batches of chunks, nuggets, whatever you want to call it. And the next part. You got that muted thing at the end. From the beginning again. And then you do that part again. And this part. So a little bit of palm muting there. I'm also doing all down picks there, because I think it gives it a little bit more urgency rather than alternate picking, which is how I think it's played. How Mr. Morello's doing it. So that's just chromatically down there, G, G flat, F on the D string, and then A string, do the same thing, same frets, right? But you're going D, D flat to C. So, back to the beginning. So that part, it's quite tricky to get that really correct. And obviously, I can't get it to sound as snappy and as awesome as he's doing it, because I'm not Mr. Morello, but it's where you hit the back of the behind the nut here, right, where the strings go past the nut, and you get that really sharp nasal kind of sound, and then a slide from the 12th fret. When I did the riff at the beginning, I did not do that well, because I missed that slide. I think I saw it from like 15th fret or something like that. So that's quite a tricky part, but quite a cool part to get. And then you carry on the riff. You're just repeating that pattern. But what a cool pattern, right? The first time you're in drop D, I remember just saying, it's so wicked. All down picks. If you want to practice that, So that's that main riff. We've got the verse. Right, it took me a minute to figure this out. It's and I also checked with how he's doing it live. I managed to find a clip where I could see his hands, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's doing that big spread thing. You got quite a big stretch here. Again, whenever you're doing big stretches on guitar, make sure that thumb is behind the neck in the middle. Yeah, pointing up. That's going to allow you. It's where you're going into a classical guitarist's position, right? It's going to allow you to spread those fingers. So that chord, we've got 5th fret on the A string, D string, and G string. So this is this D string, not the low D string. A, D, G, and then 10th fret with your pinky on the B string and the high E string, right? So the notes we've got, it's a sus chord. It's like a D sus 4 with a flat 7. Probably not correct terminology, but because there's no major third, so we've got or minor third. So we've got the root, then we've got this G, which is the 4th, flat 7, which is implying that it's minor, right? Because it is a minor key we're in, because the riff, is minor. It's that rather than what would it be? it would sound weird, right? It would sound really odd. Anyway, I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to ruin it. Shut up, Rich. Right. So we've got this sus chord, this cool D. It's like a D7 sus4. Because we've got the roots, sorry, the fourth, the -7, the fifth, which is the A, and then we've got the root again. And then that muted on the low D string, right? Then, which is just 5th fret on the D string, the middle D string and the G string. Then slide down 4th fret back to 5th, right? Okay, so that is the verse part, for sure. Cool chord, right? Okay, and then the very last riff, before we wrap this up, which is just a scale. It's a blues scale, but with an added chromatic note here because we're playing this D flat. Okay, then D at the end. So we've got so the open D. Okay, this D power chord, then 3rd fret, sorry, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret. There's your blues scale. And then 10th fret, 11th fret, 12th fret. Yeah, so we resolve, we finish on D an octave higher. Obviously I'm playing 2 strings there, yeah? Low D, the A string. Getting that, the power chord thing. Cool riff, just a really heavy. For the first time I'm starting to learn it, it's just that one finger thing, right? Power chords with one finger. The joy of drop D is we can do power chords with one finger. It's easier to do those. Anyway. That's it. So some really cool riffs. Obviously I didn't do the middle riffs, you know. Sorry. But you know, maybe you can go and figure that out yourselves. You know, that part. But I think I covered the 2 main riffs there and that really cool chord, which is in the verses. So yeah, that's a good practice, just for stretching, you know. Watch your fingers, obviously. You know, watch your hand. If it starts to hurt, always stop. Yeah, especially if you get that pain here. That forearm, really important. Don't stress. Stop playing if something's hurting, you know, badly. Anyway, there we go. That's it for this week. A fun one. Well, they're always fun. It's always fun doing this stuff. You know, we might do some more rage ones because obviously there's just so many. There's so many. But yeah, enjoy that one, guys, and hopefully see you in the next one. Take care.